January 12th, 2022 was a morning I'll never forget. I was attacked by a dog, my dog, Tyson, a dog that I loved, I adored. It's just a family pet. We don't know what made him attack, don't know what the cause was. We don't know if he was sick. We didn't think he was. But on January 12th, I woke up and I went to let one of our other dogs out. And I heard my wife kind of yell from the garage. And I assumed the reason that she yelled was because she had opened up the garage and the other dogs were in the garage. And sometimes the dogs, fight. So we try to separate them so that doesn't happen. Ultimately, as I go outside to see what's going on, the dog I just let out, she brings in through the garage. She grabbed him. He has a collar on, a harness, and she brings him back. And she brings him in. Well, at that same time, Tyson comes running towards me. Tyson's a goofball. He's very hyper. He's an Irish Terrier. Was always a wonderful dog. And he runs at me like, "Hey, Dad, you want to play?" Except this time he just runs and he leaps onto me and he grabs my leg. Like it's 7:20 in the morning. I'm really not even awake yet. I mean, I just woke up, let the dog out, get ready to shower, go to work. And he just grabs onto my leg. When he grabs onto my leg, I can't even believe it because it's my dog. And I'm going, what is going on? And Tyson's ripping at my right leg. I feel it, I kind of sprawl, and I ultimately get him to dislodge. And when I bring him up to my face, I'm holding his head. I'm not squeezing him, I'm not hitting him. For some reason, I'm thinking that he's blind. I look into his eyes, and there's like a white gloss, almost like cataracts over his eyes. And I go, "Hey, Tyson, it's Daddy. Like, can you see me?" Like, just insane aggression. And right as that's happening, my wife comes out and I lost the grip and he grabbed my arm. And then I'm trying to hold him and he gets my left thigh. And now my wife comes over and she sees me holding him down. Now, again, I don't know, I'm very passive with animals. I'm very non-aggressive. I might go, "Okay, go lay down," or something like that. But, people said, why didn't you hit him? That's not my personality. And I don't know how you could hit him. I mean, he was trying to rip me apart. At that moment, my wife saw my leg, and apparently my leg had been gashed open. And she started crying, and she's like, "You're hurt bad, you're hurt bad." And I'm trying to hold him because the whole time he's growling, and he's just not the dog that we know. It's almost like he thought that I was a stranger in my own yard, in my own property. So my wife comes over and she's going, "What can I do to help?" And what can you do to help? I'm 255 pounds. My wife's 120 pounds. I don't know that there's much you could do. And, I guess because of the pain, the trauma, like being so early in the morning, it's like I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't go, go get a leash or get a towel I could put over his head. He was just trying to attack. And if I even let up just the slightest with my grip, like just coming at me. I was just talking to him, and I asked my wife afterwards, I said, "What was I saying?" She's like, "Hey, buddy, it's Daddy, And I was like, was I doing anything? She's like, "No, like just how you always talk to him." Anyway, my wife ultimately says, let me try. I'm scared at this point because I feel like I'm losing my energy. I don't feel like my wife's strong enough. And I'm thinking, how is she going to do it? And I could feel my weakness. So I'm like, can I even help her? Can I help my wife if he starts to attack her? And I'm thinking, I probably can't. She's like, just let me try. And she's able to hold them. And she says, run. Now, from where we were to the front door was maybe 10 feet. And I reluctantly, but I hobbled. I look back and my wife just kind of grabs him by his collar and walks him right into the garage. And obviously, that's where the dog kennel is. And she puts him in there. I walk into the bathroom, I sit down, and I just start vomiting. And obviously the tub's right there. I get sick. And then I just find myself slumped down. And I'm, in front of the toilet against the wall. And I just look, and there's blood on my left forearm, my thigh, my stomach, my white t-shirt's covered. And my right leg, I can't even see it. It's weird because, I don't know, it's just in that part of your front of your calf, sort of to the right. But it's not really a spot that you can see. I just felt really weak. My wife said, what should we do? Like, meaning, do I take you in the ambulance? Do I put you in a car and take you to the hospital? What do you want to, which way do we do this? And I said, I think you got to call the ambulance. And I told her, lock the garage, right? The other dogs are in their kennels, right? Lock the garage, because I don't want law enforcement to come and feel threatened and have to shoot my dog. If my dog has to get put down, I'm gonna to do it with my veterinarian and as loving a manner as you can possibly do. But I'm fading, and I can feel myself fading. So she calls 911. First, the fire department comes in, and they're like, "All right, okay, buddy, you're gonna be okay. Okay, we're gonna give you some drugs in a minute. Just like, let's take your blood pressure." And I'm laying on the floor, and I don't. He's like, what's hurting? And I'm like, my leg hurts, my arm hurts, my thigh hurts. He's like, "Don't worry, we're gonna get you some narcotics. You're not gonna feel anything, like morphine or something." And I was like, okay. And then they take my blood pressure, and apparently my blood pressure had dropped seriously low. And next thing you know, they're talking about getting the paddles, and they're telling me, okay, don't worry, we're going to save your leg, buddy, and stuff like this. And I hear my wife screaming, and it's hard to imagine that trauma. The thought just itself is just, you don't know what's going on, why it happened, and you're asking all these questions. So the ambulance people get there, and they have to, I'm a big guy, I'm laying on the floor practically, and he's like, I couldn't use my left arm, there was nothing going on my right arm, and I just felt super weak. So ultimately what happened is I said to the fireman, I said, can you, kind of like that man grab, can you grab my arm? I can hold with my right hand, and maybe the guy can get behind me and kind of push me up. And that's what they did, and they got me into the chair and then onto the gurney, and then out of the house. And it's crazy, right? Because doing personal injury, you hear about people's accidents, and I don't know, no one's ever really described it. That it's more about the problem and how am I going to pay for this, and don't get me wrong, all those thoughts were going through my mind, but just hearing my wife cry in the background, hearing the EMT guys and the fire guys, "Don't worry, we're going to do everything we can to save your leg." I'm like, save my leg? The crazy thing is, I'm hurting, but I'm not I'm not in this crazy kind of pain or anything. I'm just like, I don't know, I got beat up bad or something. So they take me out, and those lights, I just remember the lights, looking up at the lights and looking at the door frame as I go out, and then talking to the ambulance driver. His name was Clint, and same as a friend that I had in high school. And I was like, "Clint, can you just talk to me?" He's like, we're going to help you. We're going to save you. Da, da, da. Just, we can't give you the medicine because your blood pressure is so low. And the guy talks to me, kind of keeps me calm, but I'm tearing up, not necessarily from the pain, but because of the experience. It's something that I've never had before. It's one thing to help people who have been in a serious accident, have been seriously injured. It's another thing when you're kind of going through it, because I don't know if maybe people don't communicate that, but I've never heard anyone talk about looking up at the ambulance and things being slower, and people moving slower, and whether that's shock or adrenaline dump or whatever it was, I can visualize it and I can feel it, but it's hard to articulate. But I get to the hospital, doctors come rushing in. I mean, they're cut my shirt off. I don't know, I was a t-shirt, but they cut it off. They're checking, they're sending me for x-rays, and they're going, can you move? And I mean, I couldn't move. My left arm was just like sitting here like this, and my right arm was dead. Like there was no, I couldn't even, I think they call it dorsal flexion. I couldn't even, like, my leg was just like that. I just had, there was no, like it was paralyzed from like the knee down. And this is all during like COVID, right? So honestly, I didn't really want to talk on the phone. I kind of hoped that my wife was okay. And I kind of expected her to get to the hospital. They were like, yeah, there's no gas. And I just laid there. I didn't watch TV. They gave me, apparently they got my blood pressure right. And then they gave me some medicine, and I just laid there. I just like looked at the wall. It's just a very surreal sort of feeling. It was almost like I was in somebody else's dream. I was just laying in a bed, and like nurse after nurse, doctor after doctor, specialist, and they go, all right, we're bringing in a plastic surgeon. And I'm going, like, plastic surgeon? Like, I know it's crazy, guys, but I couldn't see my leg. I could see my arm, right? Like, there's some punctures, and it looked really bad. And I got some bump here, and my thighs, pretty jacked up and scarred, but I couldn't see the front of my leg. So ultimately, a plastic surgeon comes in, and he goes, okay, he's like, I do everything I can. I think you're going to have probably 2 or 3 surgeries. We're going to have to pull skin from different parts of your body, and I'm thinking, what? And he takes out his phone, right? He takes out his phone, and he walks over to my leg. I don't know what it is. I can't see. I'm too fat. I can't see like my leg, just the angle, whatever. And he takes his phone and he's recording. He goes, Roger, see if you can move your toe. And I got my big toe is, it's like almost like a flicker. I can barely do anything with it. And then he's recording my leg, and what I don't realize is that my leg is cut open, and he can see that the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments are all cut in half. That's partially why they had sent me for the x-rays, because they thought that there's numerous bones in that part of the leg, that they were broken. Turns out that they weren't broken, but he cut through the muscles, tendons, and ligaments. And he goes, look, I'm worried about something called drop foot, where your foot kind of just hangs down in this manner, and you can't pull it back, and I couldn't. He's like, well, we're going to put you together. It's relatively simple. I just started asking this guy, like, wait, shouldn't I have like an orthopedic? He's like, no, you don't want them to butcher you. Like, I'm going to do a finesse. Young guy, went to like Columbia, super smart. Guy's like in his early 30s, and he's a plastic surgeon. Puts me back together. I wake up, crazy. I wake up in a room in the hospital, and when I wake up, my head goes up, and I hear someone saying something to me like, Roger or Mr. Foley or something, like, wake, can you hear me? Talk to me. And I kind of just put my head, and I'm just picture a gurney, like I'm in a gurney, one of those hospital beds laying totally flat. I lift my head up, and there are bodies all over the room. Like, am I dead? Like, am I like, why do they have me in the, what the heck is the word? The, I don't know, the room where they put the cadavers. And I look, and apparently it's not a room of cadavers, it's other people, and they have the sheet like right up to here, like right up to their neck, and they're just sitting there and they're totally still, because I guess after you come out of surgery, and apparently there's a bunch of surgical units, no joke, there's 40 people in the room, and there's like a sheet to this, but all I do is see white sheets and covered, and it's not like I'm focusing right on anyone's face, right? There's no one talking, there's nurses moving around, there's people doing drip things, and it was surreal. And I asked the guy, I was like, I remember it was like an X-File episode. It's like something, I was like, and he just started to laugh. He's like, I haven't heard that one. He's like, no, you're alive. Your surgery went well. We've been trying to wake you up. You've been out of it for an hour and a half. Your surgery ended like an hour and a half ago, and we weren't able to get you to awake. I was like, okay, I'm awake now. And then He's like, you need anything? No. And then like literally they bring you down the hallway and then you go. Now I'm sitting in a room. I remember the nurse or the guy that was taking me to the room go, "Oh, your phone's ringing." And I was like, okay, right, who's calling me? My wife, right? I want to talk to my wife when she calls. I just like, call back later. Just, I'm kind of out of it. And I lay there and later on we talk and I don't tell her, but 2 physical therapists come in. And the same day as the surgery, I mean, we're talking like 3 hours after the surgery. And she's like, they got like a walker and like they're cleaning the wounds and they're putting the isopropanol and all this stuff and they're putting the water and cleaning everything. And they like, I need you to get up. And I'm thinking like, lady, I don't, maybe you're not. I mean, she's looking at my leg. She just wrapped it. She's like, I need you to get up now. I'm like, so she's like, move to the side of the bed. So like I get up and the pain, like it's like throbbing through you. Like I could feel it straight down my leg to the point where you're starting to see like black. And I'm like, oh, just so much. I mean, the pain's, it's up there. And I said, I try to pull my leg back because I almost feel like I'm going to black out. It's like I like a fall over the side of the bed. And she goes, if you don't walk now, you may not ever walk again. It's like 2 ladies, 2 physical therapists. And I was like, huh? I was like, okay. So she gets me the walker and she goes, look, you're not going to be able, just hold your leg up. Like basically just keep your leg up. You're not going to be able to put, and I was like, oh my. And they're holding me by my hospital gown and I'm going, can these 2 ladies hold me? That's when fear kicks in, right? Because you're like, here are 2 people who are experts in their field and they're going, if you don't get up now, you may not ever be able to walk again. Stayed in the hospital 7 days. Doctor came back, said, hey, the surgery went surprisingly well. It's holding. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to keep checking on you because I still think that you might have to get 2 or 3 surgeries. It may die. It may become necrotic, right? The skin may die. He comes back. He's like, it's good, it's good, it's good. These ladies are having me do things. I can't even, guys, I can't do this. I can't do this with my toes. There's nothing that can be, like, I'm just laying in a bed. I'm not watching TV. I'm just sitting there, talk to family, maybe 2, 3 times in a day and just lay there. And that's when the thoughts, like, it's one thing, right, to go to battle for someone in a claim, against a negligent party, to deal with one of these insurance companies. You can't even put it into words, right? Like you can't put into words how you're isolated, how you don't know what the next hour is going to bring. Is that doctor going to come in and say, oh, I got to do another surgery? How am I going to run my law practice? How am I going to take a walk with my wife or go bicycling, bicycle riding, like things that we love to do? And that fear just overtakes you. I talked to my wife, there's friends over at the house, like kind of consoling her. And I wanted to be people because she can't come to the hospital. But I can't tell her that, like, here's 2 physical therapists saying I may not walk again. And they're like forcing me, like, they literally had me just like get up on that thing. So I guess the blood goes down into it, go like 2 feet and then come back and then sit down for 20 minutes and then try to go 4 feet and go like that. And then each day they would try to do, I couldn't move anything. Nothing's working. Doctor checks my wrist. He's worried about something with my wrist freezing up. And I don't even know, he said, because the dog bit through something and I have this weird lump here now. But he was worried that I would lose like a paralysis of your hand. And I get out of the hospital 7 days later. They got to get me a tall guy's walker, and I'm given a urinal. I'm given a nurse that comes to my house every single day to clean my wound, to rewrap it. You may think it's easy, but it's not something that you want your wife. I didn't really want to look at it because I kind of just knew that it was bad. Nurse would come every morning, like 10 a.m. And the thing is I got to get into a shower. Someone from our church was super kind, came to the house, put up like a handicap bar for the shower. My wife bought a handicap chair. We put something in the bathroom. But I can tell you, like the first week or two, this isn't like, some fantasy story. Like I laid in a bed and I urinated in a urinal on the side of the bed. And then I wanted to get to the shower, but I could barely get to the shower. So I was asking my wife, like, hey, can you help clean me and like give me soapy water so I can clean? But then you're just laying in a bed, like 2 days, you can't lay in a bed without taking a shower. So like kind of hobble to the shower. Like I feel like that blackout feeling. I sit down, I hold the bar, and I'm just Johnson & Johnson like baby soap, because the doctor said you can't put anything with any kind of chemicals. You can't use like your regular soap. I do that, and that was almost 2 months, 2 months of a nurse coming every single day and a physical therapist to teach me, listen folks, to teach me how to move my toes, to make my toes go wider, right? To move my foot in this manner, because it was stuck like this, so they put a brace on it that would keep it like that. And I would have to do this, but that took a month for me to be able to do that. And then just doing bed exercises, like stretching, moving, and her kind of doing it, and it's like just felt so weird. It felt like a grown man in an infant's body as this woman is trying to do it. And I'm skeptical. I'm going, oh my goodness, like what am I gonna do? Month into it, it's like, okay, we're gonna stand up. And I watched something at church, and right after, my wife went to church and I watched it online. I used it's a roller, right? It's like you kind of roll, but I hop with the foot so it just slides. And I said to myself, I'm just gonna do it like God's with me. I'm just gonna put my foot down, and I'm gonna see if I could stand it. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could hold weight. And I took like 2 steps, and I was like, oh, I can take 2 steps. I didn't even tell my wife. The next week, maybe it was like 3 days later, I'm in the bathroom, I'm rolling out, and I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna try something, just be close to me in case I start to fall. And I walk like 7 steps, say a prayer, and I just, please God, let me walk. 7 steps. I tell the lady, she's just doing exercise, 2 months. After about, I think right at the 5.5, 6 week mark, I could walk, but it wasn't steady. Still had to use the walker, but I could put the weight in and kind of push. The night of the incident, our dog sitter couple that watches our dogs when we go out of town came over, helped with the dog, helped my wife. The veterinarian came over, and they euthanized. They put my dog to sleep. It's too big of a risk. I tell you, I look at the pictures, I'm sad. I had to euthanize my dog, not something that I would ever do, but I couldn't imagine him getting a hold of my wife or getting a hold of a neighbor or anything, because something was wrong. Like a dog that's acting one day, and the vet said that he may have had, like a lesion on the brain, or could have had some kind of chemical that went to his brain that caused that, because he didn't know who I was. I don't really think he knew who my wife was either, because she FaceTimed me and he was not really reacting. He was just like in the cage, and but it was just weird because I'm looking at him as like the puppy, like this little joy, bundle of joy, hyperactivity, always wanting to fetch the ball, wants me to throw the ball. And it's one of those things that you can't explain. I've given it to God and said, I'll never know the answer of why or what caused this. We didn't send Tyson out to to get rabies tested, because what they do for rabies tests is they amputate the head and they send it to University of Florida, and that's where they do the testing. But rabies is so rare that we didn't do that. Scary, scary experience, and I never thought it would happen to me. I'm such an animal lover. We help with shelters. We've fostered. I mean, we've had 8 dogs at one time. Never thought it would happen, but it happened. Am I a little nervous about being around dogs? The sounds, if I hear my dogs, like sometimes my dog Red goes in the back and he kind of goes on his back and kind of like, if I'm not seeing him do it and I hear that sound, it kind of brings me back there. I've had some nightmares. The first week at home, my wife was very reluctant to bring any of the dogs around. It's just a scary situation. As a personal injury attorney who's also been attacked by a dog, I understand what you're going through. I understand the pain. I understand your fear. I understand the thoughts that have gone through your mind from the moment of the attack, from the hospital ride to the hospital room, to being confined to my own bed. I understand what you're going through. I believe that having that understanding, that personal understanding, will allow me to help you in your claim, either with the insurance company or if your case goes to litigation and a plaintiff suit is filed. I'm attorney Roger P. Foley, and I'm here if you need some help.
RP, Foley, and when you need to talk to him, hustle, get that money, man.